Krishna Krishna.
Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and the Sankirtan mission that he inaugurated in the Western world back in 1965, because there was a great need for spiritual direction and enlightenment in the human society. And his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, had given him that instruction many years prior to come to the Western world and preach Krishna consciousness to the residents of Kali Yuga in North America and then subsequently throughout the world, because there is a difference between mortality and immortality. They have a saying, they actually have a statistic, mortality rate. What is the mortality rate every day? How many people are dying at every second? For one who is born, Krishna explains, death is certain. And for one who has died, birth is certain, because this is the nature of the material body. It's mortal. Not immortality is not a characteristic of the material body. For one who is born, death is certain. And for one who has died, birth is certain. So Krishna, in the early chapters of the Bhagavad-gītā, explains to his disciple and his friend Arjuna this reality of material existence. Material existence is a very puzzling matter for the conditioned soul. When you're born, you have no idea what the purpose of life is. You're born into the darkness of illusion. This is an illusory state that we're in. And in order to rise out of it, one needs the association of a sadhu, a saintly person. Without the association of the pure devotee of Krishna, it is impossible to understand the transcendental science of God consciousness, which is a science based on sound vibration, because this is how you get understanding. This is a state of confusion that people are in these days in the Kali Yuga, because they have no knowledge. Without knowledge, you have no vision. And then you need the proper source of knowledge in order to get vision. And so we're very fortunate, all of us, here at the Prabhupada Disciples Association, Hare Krishna Society. You'll see too, Prabhus, that we've changed the name on our YouTube channel to the Hare Krishna Society. And this is in conjunction with the development of our new website, Hare Krishna Society, which will be launched very soon and will be filled with all kinds of transcendental knowledge, articles, and insights into practicing Krishna consciousness according to how Srila Prabhupada wanted us to. The problem with a lot of people, unfortunately, is they concoct things. They get a little bit of knowledge, and then subsequently they extrapolate from that knowledge some kind of understanding on the mental plane, and then they start to preach. They make it up. Prabhupada said we should just simply repeat what you hear from your spiritual master, just like he did in terms of his relationship with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami, that his position was to simply repeat what his spiritual master had taught him. And in this way, we should follow in that footstep. Same thing, not cocked. This is not a good idea. Of course, this is the nature of the false ego. one's false ego is controlling his actions. But true ego means to follow the instructions of Guru and Shastra and Krishna, which is in these transcendental literatures. And in this way, what happens? You become enlightened. Enlightenment is what people want. I was mentioning earlier, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, how very few people are going to the churches now. You see that? They're giving it up. The young people are not interested. Here in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, where I reside, we're surrounded by churches. There's got to be 150 churches in this city. Just down the street from my house, or Krishna's house, there are huge, beautiful churches, magnificent. I love churches, of course. You know, we were blessed to be able to serve Prabhupada, and we bought one of the most magnificent churches in Canada, in Toronto, up from the Parliament buildings, called the Avenue Road Church. Now it's the Krishna Temple. We bought it for Prabhupada. So these are edifices, these are buildings that were constructed by pious people in the past to worship God, even though they had very little understanding of who God was or how he was acting or where he was residing, like that. A lot of empty answers to many questions. Still, nonetheless, there were churches everywhere. But now down the street, they're all abandoned. Huge, massive edifices, beautiful buildings, nobody in them. Because there's no one giving proper information to people on the science of self-realization, which begins with understanding we're not this body. We're not this subtle mind. We're not this intelligence. We're not this false ego. The gross material body, bile, mucus, stool, urine, pus. Now someone could say, oh, how can you say that? Well, it's the fact. It's hard to hear, but at the same time, this is the reality of this matter. We are in this prison house of material existence. Remember, prison house. You can be a first class, you can be, Prabhupada would give this example, all of you have heard this, first class, second class, third class prisoner. What's the difference between a first class and third class prisoner? Well, in reality, there's no difference. You're still in the prison house. So in this material world, we are suffering due to ignorance. And these purposes of this class is to share transcendental knowledge with our like-minded friends and participants in this group so that they can feel encouraged that despite how miserable life is, there's sevenfold miseries, 7, and they're constantly attacking us. And we have to live in this environment. It's very disturbing to see how it's going on. But at any rate, let's carry on with the wonderful journey that Srila Prabhupada was undertaking now from Calcutta, India. And we'll go to the diary. Look at this, the journey. The Jaladuta set sail for America. Glorious, huh? Look at that title. The journey. The Jaladuta set sail for America with Srila Prabhupada in that boat on his way to begin the Sankirtan mission according to the order of his spiritual master. And we'll go to the first. Here we're at August 8th. Now, we'll read a little section, which is very fantastic. I had a chance to look it over again. The newspaper article announcing Srila Prabhupada's departure for the West appeared in Dainik Basumati, a Bengali newspaper in Calcutta. The translation of the article is as follows. And look at that beautiful picture of Srila Prabhupada. Even though it's black and white and sort of not clear, it's still, for the devotees, it is an inspiration to see him, his face, and his determination to carry out this mission. The Lord's mission message goes to America. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Bhaktivedanta Nagaradi Gram Sarvatra Pracharu Hoibe Mora Nam. That prophecy is going to be fulfilled now. Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami, a resident of Vrindavan, has translated the Srimad Bhagavatam into English in 60 volumes with word-for-word meaning and purports. I just wanted to comment here. It's interesting to note that Prabhupada could see himself executing this plan, and he was already announcing it before it was accomplished. He knew he was going to do this. Before this great work could be appreciated by his countrymen, people from far off America have expressed their admiration of his supernormal achievement and have invited him so that they may meet him in person and acquaint themselves with his work. Hence, he is departing from Calcutta for New York this 12th day of August, Tuesday, August 12th, to start for USA by MV Jaladuta from Calcutta Port, K. George's Dockyard. Now, it's interesting to note here how the newspaper reporter is telling of this invitation. But in actuality, he had been invited almost by chance through Agarwal, Mr. Agarwal's son, who is an engineer in Butler, Pennsylvania, had signed for a visa for him to come to America for 4 months. That was it. But we can see that Prabhupada was envisioning great success in his efforts to bring the spiritual message of Lord Chaitanya to the Western world. And we'll go here to Friday the 13th. Today at 9 a.m., I embarked on MV Jaladuta. Came with me Bhagavati, the Darwan of Sindhya Shanshir, Mr. Sen Gupta, Mr. Ali, and Brindavan. The cabinet, I believe that's his son, Brindavan. The cabinet is quite comfortable. It is owner's residence, and therefore the sitting room, the bedroom, the bath, and privy, all equipped with first-class materials. Everything is nice in the first-class compartment. And thanks to Lord Sri Krishna for his enlightening Sumarti Maharajji for all these arrangements, I am quite comfortable. The ship started at 1:30 p.m. very slowly from the dock and reached, that's in Calcutta, and reached near Botanical Garden and stopped at midstream of the Ganges till 11 p.m. and then turned towards the front and started. It is quite steady. I cannot understand in my cabin if it is at all moving. I am so comfortable. The voyage will again stopped at 3:30 a.m. at Kalpi near Diamond Harbor and Ganokali and detained for about 8 hours. The delta of the Ganges quite wide with shallow water. Let's see how much more time we've got. I'll read one more section for us. Saturday the 14th, the ship started at about 11 o'clock in the morning, majestically. I do not feel any jerking whatsoever. But on reaching the Bay of Bengal, there is tilting of the ship and a little rolling also. The roughness increased gradually on the upper bay of Bengal, and I felt seasickness. There was vomiting tendency and dizziness, and I felt uncomfortable the whole day and night. The sea was foamy all through. It appeared like a big plate of water extending to 40 square miles. But factually, it was so endless to say, it is a vivid example of God's Maya, because it appears like something, but actually it is something else. So we're going to end right now because we're at 10:17, and we'll move forward with we'll carry on with the exciting adventure that Prabhupada is embarking on, and go back in time with him and absorb this meditation that he's in so that we can become inspired as well. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and his journey to America. We'll have the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava by His Divine Grace. And after that, the wonderful discussion from the Bhagavad-gītā As It Is, unedited, with His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu from Twain Harte, California. All glories to the Saint.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Banachari. Jamuna Tira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Banachari. Jamuna Tira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Muspa Paramahansa Parivrajagācārya Sattvaresvara Samadhati Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki jai. Ramacārya Sri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sam Khanda Radha Khanda Giridhar ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai. Ganga Maya ki की जय, जमुना माई की जय, गुरु द्वारका धाम की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तविंद की जय। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू देयर समिति, ऑल ग्लोरीज टू देयर समिति। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the Son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskrityam, Narayanam namaskrityam, Naram cheva narottamam, Naram cheva narottamam, Devim Saraswatim Vyasam, Devim Saraswatim Vyasam, Tato Jayam Mudirayet, Tato Jayam Mudirayet. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Nara-Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. So welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Srimad Bhagavad-gītā. As every class, we will be discussing from the original 1972 non-edited, non-interpolated, non-adulterated version, the Macmillan 1972 edition, and all synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. First, we'll be repeating the Sanskrit verses in the beginning of the introduction on page number 1. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaham. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Svapadantikam. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sahagana Raghunatan Anbitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master and unto the feet of all Vaishnavas. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brother Sanatana Goswami, as well as Raghunath Dasa and Raghunatha Bhatta, Gopala Bhatta, and Srila Jiva Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, along with Advaita-Ācārya, Gadadhar, Srivas, and other associates. I offer my respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, along with their associates, Sri Lalita and Sri Vishaka. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. O my dear Krishna, you are the friend of the distressed and the source of all creation. You are the master of the gopis and the lover of Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye. I offer my respects to Radharani, whose bodily complexion is like molten gold, and who's the queen of Vrindavana. You are the daughter of King Vrishabhanu, and you are very dear to Lord Krishna. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaham. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. As mentioned before, all synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Today we will be reading from text number 6 and text number 7. Text number 6. Maharishayaha sapta purve chatvaro manavastata madbhava manasajata yesham loka imaha prajaha. Maharishayaha, the great sages, sapta, 7, purve, before, chatvaraha, 4, manavaha, manus, tata, also, madbhava, born of me, manasaha, from the mind, jataha, born, yesham, of them, loke, the planets, imaha, all this, prajaha, population. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The 7 great sages, and before them the 4 other great sages, and the manus, progenitors of mankind, are born out of my mind, and all creatures in these planets descend from them. Purport by His Divine Grace. The Lord is giving a genealogical synopsis of the universal population. Brahma is the original creature born out of the energy of the Supreme Lord known as Hiranyagarbha. And from Brahma, all the 7 great sages, and before them 4 other great sages named Sanaka, Sananda, Sanatana, and Sanatkumara, and the Manus are manifest. All these 25 great sages are known as the patriarchs of the living entities all over the universe. There are innumerable universes and innumerable planets within each universe. And each planet is full of population of different varieties. All of them are born of these 25 patriarchs. Brahma underwent penance for 1,000 years of the demigods before he realized by the grace of Krishna how to create. Then from Brahma, Sanaka, Sananda, Sanatana, and Sanatkumara came out, then Rudra, and then the 7 sages. And in this way, all the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas are born out of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahma is known as Pitamaha, the grandfather, and Krishna is known as Prapitamaha, the father of the grandfather. That is stated in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad-gītā 11:39. Text number 7. Etam vibhutim yogam cha mama yo vetti tattvataha so vikalpena yogena yujyate natra samshayaha. Etam, all this, vibhutim, opulence, yogam cha, also mystic power, mama, of mine, ya, anyone, veti, knows, tattvataha, factually, sa, he, avikalpena, without division, yogena, in devotional service, yujyate, engaged, na, never, atra, here, asamshayaha, doubt. Translation. He who knows in truth this glory and power of mine engages in unalloyed devotional service of this, there is no doubt. Purport. The highest summit of spiritual perfection is knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unless one is firmly convinced of the different opulences of the Supreme Lord, he cannot engage in devotional service. Generally, people know that God is great, but they do not know in detail how God is great. Here are the details. If one knows factually how God is great, then naturally he becomes a surrendered soul and engages himself in the devotional service of the Lord. When one factually knows the opulences of the Supreme, there is no alternative but to surrender to him. This factual knowledge can be known from the descriptions in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad-gītā and similar literatures. In the administration of this universe, there are many demigods distributed throughout the planetary system, and the chief of them are Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the 4 great Kumaras and other patriarchs. There are many forefathers of the population of the universe, and all of them are born of the Supreme Lord Krishna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is the original forefather of all forefathers. These are some of the opulences of the Supreme Lord. When one is firmly convinced of them, he accepts Krishna with great faith and without any doubt, and he engages in devotional service. And all this particular knowledge is required in order to increase one's interest in the loving devotional service of the Lord. One should not neglect to understand fully how great Krishna is, for by knowing the greatness of Krishna, one will be able to be fixed in sincere devotional service. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyayam Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Bhagavad-vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshataham Adadana Strinam Danter Idam Yache Punaha Punaham Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dulishyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavato Smyaham Sadadaso Asmi Saravata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Prishta Shat Karomi Svam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada used to often describe that the Vedic literatures are just like a vast encyclopedia, and other scriptures are like a small pocket dictionary. Now, both of them contain information, there's no doubt. We do not decry the importance of the small pocket dictionary or small dictionary, but the encyclopedia is vastly different. It has a lot more detail, a lot more information. So what we see here is the transcendental depth of knowledge of Bhagavad-gītā and other literatures such as Srimad Bhagavatam, Brahma Samhita, the Vedas, the Puranas, like that. What we have here is the sequence. Lord Krishna is describing the sequence of creation. Once the modes of nature were activated and material nature was activated, Lord Brahma was born from the lotus navel of Vishnu, and he practiced his austerities for 1,000 celestial years, and when the time for creation came out, he created the 4 Kumaras. Now there's an interesting story how the 4 Kumaras, they were 4 brahmacharis. They wanted to remain brahmacharis. But Lord Brahma wanted them to marry to spread the universal population, and they refused. Lord Brahma became very angry, and from the third eye, from between his left and right eye, there's a little living being that came out of his anger. Rudra, Lord Shiva, came out. After Lord Shiva came out, then Lord Brahma, who is very powerful, created what's called the Manasaputras, the 7 sons, mental sons of Lord Brahma. Then he created, because in the beginning, there was no woman. In the Mahabharata it is described that in the beginning of creation, the women had not yet been created. So Brahma was at a quandary. Well, the 4 Kumaras are brahmacharis. The Manasaputras are great sages. So who's going to create the population? So he created Manu and Shatarupa, his wife. And from then, gradually, all the population came. So this sequence, this very detailed information is given in a Srimad Bhagavatam in the 2nd canto and other cantos about the whole sequence of how this creation of this material world is created. I've mentioned before, it's interesting to note that in the history of Indian Vedic civilization, none of the great acharyas ever used the word mythology or fiction to describe the literatures of Sanatana Dharma, the Vedas, Mahabharata, Ramayana, Bhagavad-gītā, Puranas, Srimad Bhagavatam. None of this was ever described as kalpana or imaginary or legends or fables. They took it that this is history. This is ancient history, but this is factual history. This idea of mythology came when the Westerners came to India with their political program, with their political agenda of trying to convert the natives, in their own words, to bring them to either Christianity or some other sects. This is where this terminology came from, and it was popularized by various Marxist professors in northern India in universities, claiming that these literatures and the stories of Sanatana Dharma, this is all fiction. This is all Hindu mythology. We say, no, it is not mythology. It is factology. It is fact. You haven't realized it yet. And this is the difference between hearing from proper authorized sources and non-authorized sources, mental speculators, whether they are great scholars, great accomplished professors. That's very nice, very good. But one has to hear evam parampara praptam from bona fide authorized sources. We see in the Ishavasya Upanishad, it is described, iti shusrumadhiranam. One should hear from the undisturbed dhira, one who is self-realized. Prabhupada describes that a dhira was undisturbed by the whirlpool of material nature, totally beyond the influence of the material energy. The other day I was looking to some old drafts of papers, how to understand the position of a pure devotee. What is a pure devotee? What is a self-realized soul? What is a liberated soul? What is a person who is completely transcendental to the influence of modes of nature? Has there ever been such persons? Well, we know from the information in the Vedas, as well as Chaitanya Charitamrita, that there are such persons. And the symptoms of such persons are described. For example, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is described, Brahm Pramad Viparalipsa Karana Patava Arsha Vigna Dosha Nahi Esava. Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami is describing the position of great sages and great self-realized souls. This is in connection with the discussions between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Prakashananda Saraswati in Benares. As we know from Chaitanya Charitamrita, there were big philosophical discussions between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Prakashananda. And Krishnadas Kaviraj was criticizing the interpretations of the Mayavadis. And he mentions in one verse that the defects of cheating, imperfect senses, these 4 defects of conditioned souls, these defects are completely absent from the words and the literary compositions of great liberated souls. Great liberated sages, great liberated personalities, their words are transcendental. That's why we see someone like Prabhupada was once asked by George Harrison about the Krishna book, how it was so wonderful. And one time Srila Prabhupada wrote, I did not write this book, Krishna wrote the book. Krishna dictated the book to His Divine Grace. We see in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya-lila chapter 5, where Prabhupada describes when the spiritual master speaks, it's to be understood that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is speaking through him. So these great acharyas like Madhva, Ramanuja, Vedanta Deshika, Pillai Lokacharya, Vyasa Tirtha, Jaya Tirtha, and hundreds of others. In our Sampradaya, we have Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, the 6 Goswamis, Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, Baladev Vidyabhushana, and so many great personalities. These are liberated souls. They're not like a common, ordinary man. They are sent here from the spiritual world to deliver the message, the pure message of the personality of Godhead. That's why these persons are undisturbed in any circumstances. In the life of Ramanujacharya, there was an attempt to kill him, but he was totally, completely undisturbed. In the life of Madhvacharya, there was a lot of harassment from various other personalities who became very afraid of the emerging, growing influence of Madhvacharya in his preaching. They stole his books, they stole his library, they harassed him. But yet he was totally, completely undisturbed. Everything worked out under the protection of Krishna. We see in the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there were so many disturbances from government authorities. The life of Haridas Thakur, they tried to kill him. The life of the Pandavas. There are so many examples of the divine protection of Krishna. But the writings of such personalities, the teachings of such personalities are very important to understand. This is different than so-called mundane professors who are mental speculators. Because something is out of their purview, out of their control, they label it as mythology. It's entering from a historical perspective. Even before the birth of Jesus Christ 2,000 years ago, there were many persons who referred to Krishna, also to Vasudeva. When Greeks came to India with Alexander the Great, they didn't come just with soldiers. They came with actually historians who wrote about the customs, the religion of the Indians, and they even wrote about Krishna and Balaram. In 2000 BC, one Greek ruler issued some coins, Greek coins, in the name of Krishna and Balaram. It is recorded in their history book about the past personality of Vasudeva. There are numerous persons, numerous historians who are born before Jesus Christ who mention Lord Krishna. It is an undeniable fact that Krishna was a historical personality. It is there in old Buddhist texts, in old Jain texts, in the Panini Sanskrit grammar. So many of these texts were written before Jesus Christ. But stubborn speculators like to deny the existence of the personality of God. Krishna talks about this in Bhagavad-gītā. Avajananti mamudha. Krishna warns about such persons. Krishna gives very clear warnings about atheistic mindset of mental speculators. But devotees should not be disturbed. It's interesting to note that some devotees, disciples of Srila Prabhupada, have done excellent research. One devotee in New York, Satyaraj Das, Stephen Rosen, has written a book about this, documenting very nicely all kinds of historical, epigraphical, numismatic, literary evidences of the existence of Krishna. Another devotee in Detroit, Nanda-nandana Dāsa, Stephen Knapp, has also written about this. So this is very, very good, excellent work which has been done in the field of Indological Vaishnava research to establish clearly the position, the historical position of Krishna. But even if one does not know on all this, one can read Bhagavad-gītā very simply. Krishna describes himself in this book. This is not an ordinary book. This is a very special book. Look at these two verses we're reading today. For how many thousands of years, thousands and thousands of philosophers, writers, speculators have tried to come to the understanding, how does the creation take place? How did this world come about? How did living beings come? How were the planets created? And here Krishna is giving the information. It's right there in the Bhagavad-gītā. You see in this text, it's very simple. It's not complicated. It's not difficult. The 7 great sages, and before them the 4 other great sages, and the Manus, progenitors of mankind, are born out of my mind, and all creatures in these planets descend from them. Interestingly, the Sanskrit word Manu is the origin of the English word man, M-A-N. Manu is the original progenitor in human society, and his wife, Shatarupa. So this is very detailed information. It is not complicated to understand. If one wants to go more detail, more scientific, systematic, logical description, in the 2nd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a lot of description there. It is right there. Very systematic, how it happens, how it occurs. So instead of speculating, one should learn to hear from proper sources. Now, one may argue, we have no way of verifying this, how Lord Brahma created 7 great sages out of his mind. Well, we got no way of verifying your Big Bang. We got no way of verifying your Big Bang. What is that Big Bang? When did it happen? What created that Big Bang? What constituted all these original chemicals? No answer. Prabhupada used to often decry this false speculative philosophy that the whole creation originated out of some amorphous, undescribable Big Bang. What created the Big Bang? Everything has a cause. Those professors who advocate these theories, did they get their education by a Big Bang idea? Did they get their vehicles to get to the university by chance? Did they get their education, or PhD, or MA, or MD by chance? What is that? Nothing happens by chance. There's a cause behind everything. When we were in Bombay in 1972, a very scientific-minded Indian gentleman came to see Prabhupada. And Prabhupada, in his private quarters many times, would be very accommodating to all kinds of persons, even person who came to challenge him. And it was very interesting because he was arguing from a scientific point of view. And Prabhupada says, my proposition is that everything has a cause. You have a father, your father has a father, his father and his father. So who is the original father? That they cannot answer. Just to speculate that some chemicals oozed out together to create some kind, like they speculate that the man came from a monkey. How is it that Prabhupada used to say, how is it that nowadays you don't see monkeys being transformed into man? As a matter of fact, Hamsadutta in Sri Lanka in 1977 challenged one scientist publicly to transfer a monkey into a human. And they said, well, it happens over a long period of time. He says, no, do it now. Show us your theory now, how it works. No answer. Just like there's no answer to Big Bang, there's a lot of bluff. There's a lot of bluff, just like these nonsense professors who claim that Sanatana Dharma and the ancient description in the Vedic literature, the cycle of time, the process of creation, that this is all mythology. They can't understand it, they labor it as fiction. Or it can be understood. You have to hear from the proper sources. Tad vijnanartam gurumeva bigachet shamit panihi shrutriyam brahmanishtam. The Katha Upanishad describes, if you want to understand these topics, you have to hear from a bona fide authorized guru. Then you will understand. Srila Prabhupada is such a person, a realized perfect soul who has completely understood the message of the Vedas, the message of Sanatana Dharma, and delivering the message in simple, clear language. Simple, understandable language for the modern man and modern woman. Not complicated. In 1976, we were on a morning walk with Srila Prabhupada in Vrindavan near Chatikar Road. This is the road where Krishna killed the cart demon. So I asked him a question, why is it that in India there have been so many different invaders who have come in the country? The Greeks came there, the French, the Portuguese, the British, the Afghans, the Turks. So many different people from different regions of the world came to India. But yet, in India, we see that the culture is still there. In other parts of the world, after 1 or 2 generations, the culture is gone when they're invaded. In India, it's still there. Prabhupada says, because it cannot be destroyed. It is Sanatan, it is eternal. So those who are envious of Vedic culture, who are biased, who do not understand the history properly because of hearing from unauthorized sources, should learn from the Bhagavad-gītā, should learn from the Bhagavatam, and hear from a realized soul. Stanishtitaha shrutigatan tanuvan manobhir. This is the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for that wonderful explanation of our philosophy according to Srila Prabhupada's teachings. And it is extraordinary that we all have this opportunity with Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu's brilliant memory of his association with Prabhupada, how he can repeat so much information for our benefit. For those of us who have never had personal association with Srila Prabhupada, we get an insight through listening to Yaśodā-nandana's explanations of so many different pastimes that he had with Srila Prabhupada. And I wanted to go further today in this verse from Bhagavad-gītā, text 6, in the purport. And what struck me was this information, which is an insight that you cannot get unless you hear from the bona fide spiritual master. It says here, In the middle of the purport in text 6 of today's verse, there are innumerable universes and innumerable planets within each universe, and each planet is full of population of different varieties. All of them are born of these 25 patriarchs. Brahma underwent penance for 1,000 years of the demigods before he realized by the grace of Krishna how to create. So Prabhupada explains that there are 8,400,000 different species of life in the material universe. This is something that has not been revealed by modern science, but it is coming from the science of Vedic teachings. Let's review the different species here. There are 900,000 aquatics. 900,000. Prabhupada explains further, it's not 900,001 aquatic. It's actually 900,000 exactly. So this is Vedic teaching. Just like if you want to know who your father is, you have to ask your mother. She is the authority. So the Vedic teachings coming from the bona fide spiritual master are authentic truth. So it's 900,000 aquatics in water, all the fishes, etc. There are 2 million non-moving living entities, the trees and plants, etc. There are 1,100,000 species of insects and reptiles. And there are 1 million birds. There are 3 million quadrupeds. And there are 400,000 human species. So in this way, we're getting detailed information on the different species of life. And life comes from life, not from matter. So when you see all of these species, when you go for your walk, you see the ant walking, it's alive because the soul is present in all these different species of life. It is life comes from life. It does not come from dead matter. This is a very important aspect of self-realization that all of us are endeavoring to understand through association with Srila Prabhupada. We're getting insight into these matters. And I wanted to, before we go back to Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu and his insight, here's a book here. It's a very good book. I don't know if anybody has a copy of this, but it was on a series of morning walks, where Prabhupada was being asked various questions on the origins of life. And so we'll go to some insight here quickly. Morning walk, the 6th of morning walk, recorded on May 7th, 1973, on the shores of the Pacific Ocean near Los Angeles. And Srila Prabhupada is accompanied by Dr. Singh, Brahmananda Swami, and other students. Chemicals from mystic powers. Srila Prabhupada, the scientists say that life begins from chemicals, but the real question is, where have the chemicals come from? The chemicals come from life, and this means that life has mystic powers. For example, an orange tree contains many oranges, and each orange contains chemicals, citric acid and others. So where have these chemicals come from? Obviously, they are coming from the life within the tree. The scientists are missing the origin of the chemicals. Joe Felice. They have started their investigation from the chemicals, but they cannot identify the origin of the chemicals. Chemicals come from the Supreme Life, God. Just as the living body of a man produces many chemicals, the Supreme Life, the Supreme Lord, is producing all the chemicals found in the atmosphere, in the water, in humans, in animals, and in the earth. And that is called mystic power. Unless the mystic power of the Lord is accepted, there is no solution to the problem of the origin of life. Dr. Singh, the scientists will reply that they cannot believe in mystic power. Srila Prabhupada, but they must explain the origin of the chemicals. Anyone can see that an ordinary tree is producing many chemicals, but how does it produce them? Since the scientists cannot answer this, they must accept that the living force has mystic power. I cannot even explain how my fingernail is growing out of my finger. I cannot explain, it is beyond the power of my brain. In other words, my fingernail is growing by inconceivable potency. Achintya Shakti. So if Achintya Shakti exists in an ordinary human being, how much more Achintya Shakti God possesses? The difference between God and me is that although I have the same potencies as God, I can produce only a small quantity of chemicals, whereas he can produce enormous quantities. I can produce a little water in the form of perspiration, but God can produce the seas. Analysis of one drop of seawater gives you the qualitative analysis of the sea without any mistake. Similarly, the ordinary living being is part and parcel of God. So by analyzing the living beings, we can begin to understand God. In God, there is great mystic potency. God's mystic potency is working swiftly, exactly like an electric machine. Some machine operates by electric energy, and they are so nicely made by all the work is done simply by pushing a button. Similarly, God said, "Let there be creation," and there was creation. Consider in this way, the workings of nature are not very difficult to understand. God has wonderful potencies that the creation on his order alone immediately takes place. So if you can get a copy of this book, you can read on. It's so wonderful. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, if you could further articulate some understanding.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier how in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the second and third canto, there are very clear description of the systematic creation of different living beings and how Lord Brahma creates the planetary systems and populates all of these different. What's fascinating about it is that somebody may argue, well, we have no way of verifying with our modern instruments and everything. We just have to accept. And this is where the problem lies with modern scientific approach. Our approach is to hear from self-realized soul. Their approach is to basically try to verify everything to their senses. And that's very limited. Now, one can verify some things, but unless one hears from a perfected soul, one cannot understand the science. And this is where the potency of Srimad Bhagavatam comes in. Srimad Bhagavatam is a very perfect literature which has been given to deliver this information. The whole message of Srimad Bhagavatam is not just talk about the life of Krishna, but talk about how this world was created. How did it come about? How did this world come about? It's given. There are answers. There are clear answers given in the Shastra, very clear answers. So it's just like when we studied the duration of life of Lord Brahma, you know, in the Bhagavatam, it's described that the life of Lord Brahma and inhabitants on this higher planet and the life of these Sapta Rishis, this is a different duration of life than we have on this planet. Take, for example, if you have different living beings, you got a human being and an ant. Now, the duration of life of an ant is obviously not the same duration of life of a normal human being. It's shorter. There are even some moths. They're just born very quickly and they don't live very long. So the duration of life in the highest planet in the universe, Brahmaloka, is very long. It's estimated to be 311 trillion years and a couple of 100 million years. But no one can verify that. So we hear these messages from Vedic literature. It is presented in a very logical, systematic way, and one can understand how everything came about. This is very important, because without properly understanding the sequence of creation, how this material world was populated, how everything came about, we see here in Bhagavad-gītā, in this verse, Krishna is giving very nice instruction. He's giving a hint, and he says, if you understand this, you will engage in my service. Why do people not engage in Krishna's service? It's simple to understand, because they do not understand these fundamental truths. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Yes, that's right. People are very hesitant due to false ego to listen. They're always speculating and manufacturing different concocted theories of life. Whether you're a big PhD scientist or you're simply a person on the street, everyone's got a point of view, an opinion. It's the world of opinions, just like everyone has an odor, a body odor. So unless one comes to the platform of association with enlightened souls, and this, for us, we're very fortunate, because somehow or other, by the mercy of Lord Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, the 6 Goswamis, and our Sampradaya, and Srila Prabhupada, we're getting insights that are not possible for the average soul. You may feel a bit out of place when you go out in the world because you're seeing through the eyes of Srila Prabhupada's teachings, and this opens your vision. Janice Priya in Hawaii, we want to thank you. I know it's an early hour there for you to participate in the program, but we'd like you to share some realizations from today's discussion with our group. Janice Priya in Hawaii.
Might be a little early for him.
Yes. Let's go to Dharma Bhavana in Dallas, Texas. One of our God brothers.
Oh, Hare Krishna, thank you. I was thinking today's class is a little bit unusual. It's a little bit about the real science as opposed to speculative science. And I was thinking how if you go to high school, university, or especially postdoctorate biology or chemistry or different kind of classes, the normal way an intelligent professor would present things, if it's based on theory, it would present the theory of evolution and the theory of intelligent design and present all the pros and cons for both theories. And that would be common sense. But if you go to almost anywhere in the so-called civilized world, there's this amazing bias against anything about intelligent design, because it includes some kind of idea of a supreme being or supreme intelligence. And the bias is a whole lot towards atheism, or like you say, a big bang, like nobody controls it, it happens by chance. So a lot of times the parents have children going to school and they don't actually realize how the children are being taught in a very biased way. So I thought today's class was really good. It's kind of a specialized section of Krishna consciousness, but it related to the text a whole lot and gives us a whole lot of the thinking about the kind of world we live in and how we're supposed to also attract average people, intelligent people. But the kind of discussion we had today is very important because it deals with the kind of the way the educational things are done. Thank you. Haribo.
That's true. And Prabhupada called the modern educational system a slaughterhouse. A slaughterhouse, because it's destroying the purpose of life for the human being. The human being is specifically meant for self-realization. And these people are speculating on the creation of God, of why they were born. I was looking at a list, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, yesterday of all these celebrities that are atheists. There's a whole large list out of Hollywood where these people are saying they don't believe in God. And then other people are listening to them and they're thinking, oh yes, God doesn't exist. So there is a constant promotion of atheism based on narcissism and the desire for self-aggrandizement being perpetrated throughout this world by foolish, ignorant people. And this is a very sad state of affairs. And not only is it sad, Vinkat Bhatta, it is the sign of the times that this is the Kali Yuga, where the human society diminishes down to the level of animal existence, not spiritual existence. Vinkat Bhatta, who's also a very scientific person, could you please maybe explain a few of your thoughts on these matters?
Yes, Prabhu. I just posted a meme which I found funny. It says, to be an atheist, I would have to believe that nothing produced everything, non-life produced life, randomness produced precision, chaos produced order. I simply do not have that much faith. So I thought it was quite funny because, as you know, you might be aware this, random. Actually, the universe, scientists have even discovered that there's these fine-tuned constants of the universe. Like for the universe to exist, they say, this is like modern scientific view, that for the universe to exist as it does, there are these constants of physical nature, like the gravitational constant and like there's different constants, which have to be very fine-tuned for life to exist and for anything to exist. So they're very stunned, like how can that be possible? And one explanation they say is that there are infinite number of universes with all possibilities of values for those constants. And we happen to live in a universe where those constants are just right. So life exists here. So that's called, I think, the anthropic principle or something, or they call it. But I mean, so in order to explain the existence of one universe, they have to create infinite universes, like it's like you cannot create more complexity to explain something. You have to always so I mean, it's just funny. The whole basis of their approach to knowledge is based on empiricism, and it's like a bottom-up approach, I mean, Srila Prabhupada says, he calls it, what is it? Aroha Pantha, right? The ascending process. And so using the senses and making observations to try to reach a conclusion. And it's just not possible, just because of the limitation of our senses. So yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to say.
Yeah, that's perfect, because really it is based on false ego, where the living entity thinks that they're important, that they're all intelligent, that they're all knowing. They try to imitate Bhagavan, but in minute quality. It's Vinkat Bhatta, you know the analogy of Prabhupada, the frog in the well, where he's trying to estimate the length and breadth of the ocean from his position in the well. These people are in a well. They're speculating. They're pretending to know, like a lot of people we know that simply pretend and posture in their position. I see that we've got our friend again in Hawaii, Janis Priya, back online, and we have Daniel with a question after that. But Janis Priya, if you could share your realizations today on these sections from the Bhagavad-gītā and other books that we've been reading.
Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is my humble obeisances. Yes, both of you Prabhus mentioned my favorite topic, how we need to strictly follow parampara and do not invent anything. We don't need to come out with new philosophies or ideas. Prabhupada has given the perfect philosophy. We could not improve in the perfection of Srila Prabhupada's message. So we simply have to pass this message. Prabhupada gave the example many times that the mailman, he doesn't open the letters and reads it and says, oh, I don't think this person is gonna blah, blah, whatever. He just delivers the message. And this is our mission. Prabhupada likes using a post office, for example, same as the mailboxes. They're not the post office, but they're bona fide. So you could make a copy of a mailbox, and you could put a letter in there, and that letter is not going to go anywhere. Why? Because it's not authorized. Prabhupada gave this example. So Prabhupada's books are like the mailboxes. Why? Because all the answers and all the questions are there. Well, it's amazing how Srila Prabhupada and his whole philosophy, most bogi yogis, they talk and talk and talk, and they want to keep their thing like a secret. So you pay for the tuition or whatever it is. But Prabhupada not only tells us what we should be asking, but he gives the answer in detail with no room for speculation. So this is what comes out of Prabhupada's mouth is the absolute truth. There's nothing higher than what comes out of the bona fide representative of Krishna. Why? Because as we mentioned on this class earlier, he's not speaking for himself. He has no business of his own. His only business is Krishna, to deliver Krishna to anybody that either by mercy or divine intervention or previous karma or whatever, it's ready to accept this message. And that's what is important, that we hold these meetings and we try to invite new people to come. Let's all please try and invite one person a month. If we could do that. Yes, you have your friends. I give this link to people. I say, hey, yes, check it out, put it on. Listen as long as you can. So this is important, and it's so nice that there's devotees like this group, that we're simply not trying to become famous. We're not after money. What our mission is simply to somehow preserve Prabhupada's legacy Prabhupada as it is. Hare Krishna.
Well, thank you very much. And the fact of the matter is, there is the world of illusion, and then there's the world of transcendental reality. And in order to connect with the transcendental reality beyond this material body, you need to be connected to the bona fide representative. Just like, for example, here in Canada, we, in this particular area, we get our power from Niagara Falls. And it supplies millions and millions of people with electricity. but you have to be connected with the proper conduit. So in the same way, if you want to get transcendental knowledge about the spiritual world, about your position as a living entity, about your situation in this body of misery, you have to be connected to the bona fide source. And that bona fide source, everyone, as we all know, is Srila Prabhupada, period. It's a transcendental science. Daniel, how are you? I see you're here attentively listening. What is your comment or question this morning before we end up our program?
Well, thank you again so much for letting me speak. And all glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to this movement. Last time you gave me the opportunity to speak, I had mentioned that when I was very young, at 22 years, I went to the Boston Temple. And I learned to chant Hare Krishna. Because I did that, God revealed himself to me. And I realized all of a sudden I was so young and just enjoying life, being very selfish and, enjoying all the senses of my body. And I was not thinking of God and what was really going on in this world. Because of my chanting, God opened up to me, and then I realized what is really going on in this world. I thought outside the box, and I realized that all these different kingdoms that exist inside this world, the aquatic kingdom, the fish, they rely on devouring each other. But yet they don't want to be devoured. They don't want to be killed. So they run from each other because every living creature wants to live. They do not want to die. But they're all being devoured. And then I looked at the insect kingdom with these horrible looking creatures that devour each other, that live on death. And the animal kingdom that devour each other and that always run from each other. They want to live. The only kingdom that's really on earth that produces life is the plant kingdom. It gives us life and energy and does not devour each other. And it also gives us great beauty. So just by chanting Hare Krishna, God made me realize what this world is all about. And quite frankly, it's very scary and very distressing what's going on. And as human beings, how we devour each other and don't want to be killed, but yet, we kill only to satisfy our senses is quite disturbing to me. So the only way out is through love of God and realizing, through God's mercy, how he opens up this world and makes us realize what is really going on here and how we can get out of this existence. So I thank Krishna every day. And, I talk to a lot of Christian people and, they talk very flowery about how they love Jesus and how they, but they don't know who Jesus's father is when I ask them. Well, when Jesus calls out to his father, well, I would ask, well, who's his father? And, and they can't answer. So when they ask me and I say Krishna, they have no idea, and they cannot wrap their heads around a living being, a God who is independent like we are. They always, I always say to them, if we have independence, why wouldn't God be independent? If we are a person, and God created us, then why wouldn't God be a person? Why isn't he independent? He's not a spirit in the sky looking down and judging and sending us all to hell if we make a mistake and worship the wrong God or the wrong religion. What God would send his children who he created to a hell for eternity of time? I mean, eternity is a long time. So where is the mercy of a God that would do that? So people don't take the time to really listen and listen to their own thoughts of what's really going on in this world. Those are my thoughts for the day.
Excellent.
Okay, well, thank you. And we appreciate the fact that you're glorifying the potency of the holy name, because this is the system that was given by Lord Chaitanya. Anybody who chants Hare Krishna gets tremendous benefit. So we try to spread that. Recently, this week, we had another person from our ashram pass away. Now, that's been multiple deaths in this city of Hamilton around our ashram, many people passing away. But the consolation is that they got prasadam, that this person got to chant the holy name. And in this way, they're blessed eternally through the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. And we want to thank everyone today who participated in our class. We've reached 11:32 here in Eastern Canada. And I wanted to remind everybody that we will be back tomorrow morning with Srimad Bhagavatam class from the original 1962 version that Prabhupada had written before he left on his journey of the Jaladuta. We will be reading from the wonderful diaries of Srila Prabhupada, so you get more insight into why you're a devotee of Prabhupada and Krishna. And in this way, we can march together on the path back home, back to Godhead. Let's move forward with the mantra Hare Krishna, led by our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the Sankirtan movement.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I just want to point out there was somebody on this call, Ramya Devi Dasi. She had a wonderful altar behind her picture. Very, very wonderful. Very sweet. I think maybe she's gone now, but it was very sweet.